If it's been 20 years since you last rode, here's the biggest change. ABS is now standard on many motorcycles, making emergency braking far more forgiving than it used to be. Today, we'll show you 12 motorcycles that make coming back safer, easier, and more enjoyable, including one unexpected choice that may fit returning riders better than anything else. Number 12, Honda Rebel 500. Imagine pulling into a parking lot after being away from motorcycles for 20 years. Your hands remember the controls, but your mind is asking a different question. Can I still do this? The Honda Rebel 500 answers before you even leave the parking space. It doesn't try to impress you with wild performance or overwhelm you with technology. Its entire personality is built around helping you relax, settle in, and enjoy riding again. One reason is obvious the moment you throw a leg over it. The seat sits just over 27 inches from the pavement, allowing most riders to plant both boots confidently at every stop. Pair that with a wet weight of about 414 pounds, and suddenly, those slow U-turns, parking lot drills, and stop-and-go traffic feel far less intimidating than they would on a heavier motorcycle. Then there's Honda's famously dependable 471 cubic centimeter parallel twin engine. Instead of delivering a sharp burst of power, it responds with smooth, predictable acceleration that builds naturally as you roll on the throttle. It feels friendly rather than demanding, making it much easier to rebuild muscle memory after years away from the saddle. Better yet, every Rebel 500 has been available with anti-lock brakes, one of the biggest improvements modern motorcycles offer returning riders. If your last bike never had ABS, you'll immediately notice how much extra confidence it brings during an unexpected hard stop. If this guide is already helping you ride smarter, drop a hype in the comments and subscribe, because every bit of support helps us keep bringing honest motorcycle buying guides to riders like you. Back to the Rebel 500, comfort plays just as big a role. The neutral handlebars, mid-mounted foot controls, and relaxed riding position let you sit naturally without folding yourself over a fuel tank or stretching toward forward controls. After an hour in the saddle, you'll appreciate how little effort the bike asks from your back, shoulders, and wrists. The Rebel also makes excellent financial sense. Clean used models from 2017 through the present typically sell between $4,800 and $6,800 across the United States, making them one of the smartest buys in today's used market. Honda's reputation for reliability means many examples have barely reached their stride. Before handing over your money, inspect the chain and sprockets for neglected maintenance. Look for scraped bar ends or engine covers that could reveal a previous drop, and make sure any aftermarket modifications were installed professionally rather than in someone's garage over a long weekend. The Rebel 500 is proof that returning to riding doesn't begin with courage. It begins with trust. But while this low-slung cruiser makes almost anyone feel comfortable within minutes, some riders simply prefer sitting upright, with a view that feels more like the standard motorcycles they remember. And that's exactly where our next motorcycle earns its place. Number 11, Kawasaki Eliminator 450. Some motorcycles ask you to prove you've still got it. The Kawasaki Eliminator 450 does the exact opposite. It quietly reminds you that riding never really left. You just needed the right machine to bring it back. At first glance, it wears the timeless look of a classic cruiser. But don't let the styling fool you. This is one of the newest motorcycles on today's market, designed from the ground up to erase many of the frustrations riders remember from bikes they owned decades ago. The first thing you'll appreciate isn't the engine, it's the confidence. With a seat height of just 28.9 inches, getting both boots firmly on the pavement feels effortless at every stop. At a wet weight of only 388 pounds and a remarkably low center of gravity, and even slow-speed U-turns or parking lot practice suddenly become far less intimidating. Instead of feeling like you're balancing a heavyweight cruiser, the Eliminator feels eager to work with you. Then comes the engine. Borrowed from Kawasaki's modern sport bike family, The 451cc parallel twin delivers lively performance without ever feeling impatient. The power builds smoothly, the throttle responds predictably, and the light assist and slipper clutch makes every shift feel almost effortless. If it's been 20 years since you last feathered a clutch, this motorcycle won't punish the occasional rusty mistake. It simply encourages you to relax and enjoy the ride. And with available ABS standing by, emergency stops feel far more reassuring than many older motorcycles ever could. Since the Eliminator first arrived in 2024, every used example is still relatively young. Expect clean models from 2024 through the present to sell between $4,800 and $6,200, depending on mileage, condition, and whether ABS is equipped. Before handing over your money, ask for proof that the initial break-in service was completed. Then inspect the mirrors, levers, handlebar ends, foot pegs, and exhaust for signs of a low-speed tip-over. Many of these bikes have been first motorcycles, so a few scratches aren't unusual, and they can often become your bargaining chip. But if you spend most of your time commuting or taking weekend rides, you may eventually want a motorcycle that feels equally comfortable everywhere instead of leaning toward cruiser style. Japan's reputation for building motorcycles that simply disappear beneath a rider wasn't built overnight, and one machine has quietly become the benchmark for exactly that kind of everyday confidence. Number 10. Honda CB500F. Imagine climbing back onto a motorcycle after 2 decades away. Your hands remember the controls, but your mind remembers something else too. The heavy clutch, the grabby brakes, and that split second of panic when an emergency stop didn't go exactly as planned. The Honda CB500F feels like the motorcycle the industry should have built all those years ago. It doesn't try to impress you with outrageous horsepower or confusing electronics. Instead, it quietly rebuilds your confidence every mile you ride. The smartest place to shop is the model years from 2019 to the present, with clean used examples typically selling between $4,800 and $6,500 across the United States. Honda made meaningful improvements beginning in 2019, then refined the motorcycle again in later years with better suspension, stronger front brakes, and a sharper front end that feels reassuring the moment you tip into a corner. One reason the CB500F feels so welcoming is its riding position. The seat sits at a manageable 31.1 inches, giving most riders an excellent view of traffic without making stoplights stressful. At about 416 pounds fully fueled, it has enough substance to feel planted on the highway, yet it's light enough that practicing low-speed turns in an empty parking lot never becomes intimidating. The wide handlebars and neutral seating position let the motorcycle work with you instead of demanding perfect technique. Its 471 cubic centimeter parallel twin engine is another reason this bike earns so much praise. With about 47 horsepower, the power builds smoothly instead of arriving all at once. Whether you're easing through town, merging onto the interstate, or enjoying a quiet Sunday ride through the countryside, the throttle feels predictable and forgiving. Honda's assist and slipper clutch keeps lever effort surprisingly light, while standard ABS provides a safety net that many riders simply never had on the motorcycles they owned 20 years ago. Before buying one, spend a few extra minutes looking at the chain and sprockets, since neglected maintenance can shorten their life. Inspect the engine covers, handlebar ends, foot pegs, and clutch lever for scratches that may reveal a previous tip over, and make sure the ABS warning light comes on during startup before switching off once the motorcycle begins rolling. The CB500F is one of the easiest motorcycles to trust after years away. It asks almost nothing from the rider and rarely surprises you. For some people, though, confidence eventually turns into curiosity. Once the basics feel natural again, you start wanting a motorcycle with a little more personality every time you roll on the throttle. Few engines have earned that reputation, quite like a certain V-twin that has been winning riders over for more than 2 decades. Number 9. Suzuki SV650. Some motorcycles make returning riders feel like complete beginners. The Suzuki SV650 does something far more satisfying. It reminds you that the skills never truly disappeared. They were simply waiting to be awakened. Within a few miles, the bike starts feeling less like a machine you're learning and more like an old friend you've finally met again. The sweet spot begins with models built from 2017 through the present, when Suzuki refreshed this legendary middleweight without changing the qualities riders loved. It gained low RPM assist to help prevent embarrassing stalls when pulling away from a stop, along with easy start, so firing up the engine takes nothing more than a quick tap of the starter. They sound like small upgrades, but when you're rebuilding confidence after 2 decades away, little things make a big difference. The riding position is another reason the SV earns its place on this countdown. A seat height of just under 31 inches gives most riders reassuring footing at intersections, while its wet weight of about 432 pounds strikes a wonderful balance between easy maneuverability and highway stability. The wide handlebars and neutral ergonomics encourage relaxed control instead of forcing you into an aggressive posture. Then comes the heart of the motorcycle, Suzuki's legendary 645 cubic centimeter V-twin. It doesn't explode with intimidating power. Instead, it delivers a smooth wave of torque that builds naturally, making city riding effortless while leaving plenty in reserve for confident highway passing. Standard ABS adds another welcome layer of security when traffic suddenly comes to a stop or the pavement turns slick. Clean used examples from 2017 through the present usually sell between $5,000 and $7,000 in the United States, making the SV650 one of the strongest values in the middleweight class. Before buying, inspect the suspension for neglect, check the clutch for excessive wear, and look closely for scratches on the engine covers, frame, or bar ends that could reveal a previous crash. Modified exhaust systems are common, so make sure any upgrades were installed correctly. The SV has spent years proving that predictable performance never goes out of style. It remains one of the safest recommendations for riders rebuilding forgotten skills. Keep its typical $6,000 to $7,000 price in mind, because the next motorcycle delivers a completely different personality for nearly the same money. And that's exactly why buyers often struggle to choose between them. Number 8. Yamaha MT-07. Instead of holding you back, the Yamaha MT-07 grows with you. Calm enough for your first ride back, yet exciting enough that you may never feel the need to replace it. This is one of those rare motorcycles that makes you a better rider without ever making you feel intimidated. The sweet spot is models built from 2021 through the present. That's when Yamaha gave the MT-07 stronger brakes, sharper styling, full LED lighting, and a more refined riding position. Later models added a colorful TFT display with smartphone connectivity, bringing modern convenience without burying you in complicated electronics. Despite its sporty appearance, the MT-07 is remarkably approachable. The narrow seat lets many riders reach the ground more easily than the specifications suggest, while its wet weight of just over 406 pounds makes low-speed turns and parking lot practice feel surprisingly effortless. Wide handlebars provide plenty of leverage, so the bike changes direction with very little effort instead of fighting you every step of the way. Its 689 cubic centimeters CP2 parallel twin engine is the real star of the show. Rather than delivering a sudden burst of power, it builds speed in a smooth, predictable wave that feels reassuring instead of intimidating. Add standard ABS, and emergency braking becomes far less stressful than many riders remember from motorcycles they owned decades ago. Expect clean examples from 2021 through the present to sell between $6,500 and $8,000. Before buying, inspect the wheels, engine covers, and radiator for signs of drops, and pay close attention to aftermarket exhausts or engine tuning. A well-maintained MT-07 is wonderfully dependable, but poorly installed modifications can create headaches later. The MT-07 proves you don't have to sacrifice excitement just because you're returning to riding. But after 20 years away, not every rider wants excitement to be the first thing they notice. Some want maturity, refinement, and the kind of motorcycle that settles into every mile instead of urging them to chase the next corner. Across the Atlantic, one British manufacturer has spent generations perfecting exactly that feeling. Number 7. Triumph Speed. Twin 900. Maybe the motorcycle you miss most wasn't the fastest one you ever owned. Maybe it was the one that made you smile every time you opened the garage. The one with timeless lines, a satisfying exhaust note, and an engine that never begged to be pushed. If that sounds familiar, the Triumph Speed. Twin 900 deserves a place at the very top of your shopping list. Originally sold as the Street Twin before adopting the Speed Twin 900 name, the best years to buy begin with 2019, when Triumph gave the motorcycle meaningful upgrades. The engine became livelier, the clutch grew noticeably lighter, the suspension was refined and stronger. Brembo brakes added even more confidence. Clean used examples from 2019 through the present usually sell between $6,800 and $9,200 in the United States. What makes this motorcycle so inviting isn't raw performance. It's the way everything feels effortless. The 30.1-inch seat height inspires confidence the moment you stop, while the 476-pound wet weight gives the bike a planted, reassuring feel without becoming exhausting at parking lot speeds. The upright handlebars, relaxed foot peg position, and natural seating posture make long rides feel surprisingly easy on your back, shoulders, and wrists. Its 900 cubic centimeter Bonneville parallel twin produces about 64 horsepower and 59 pound-feet of torque. But those numbers only tell part of the story. The real magic is how calmly the engine delivers its power. It pulls cleanly from low speeds, responds smoothly to every throttle input, and never pressures you to ride harder than you want. Standard ABS, switchable traction control, and a light torque assist clutch quietly step in whenever conditions become less than perfect, giving you an extra layer of reassurance without ever feeling intrusive. Before handing over your money, confirm the motorcycle has a complete Triumph service history, paying special attention to its scheduled maintenance. Inspect the clutch for smooth engagement, examine the engine covers, mirrors, and handlebar ends for evidence of low-speed drops, and make sure any aftermarket exhaust has been professionally installed and properly tuned. And what if the motorcycle could make riding even easier by removing one of the biggest challenges altogether? Our next pick does exactly that, and for many returning riders, it changes everything. But before we reveal the motorcycles that cracked the top half of this countdown, take a second to hit that like button and subscribe. And while you're there, tell us which motorcycle you've seen so far you trust to restart your riding journey, or which one you think still deserves a spot in our top 6. We've saved the motorcycles that solve the biggest confidence barriers for last, and one of them challenges almost everything people assume a returning rider needs. Number 6. Honda NC750X DCT. If you last rode 20 years ago, the biggest surprise probably won't be how fast modern motorcycles have become. It'll be how much busier the roads feel. More traffic, more distracted drivers, more situations demanding your full attention. That's exactly why the Honda NC750X DCT is one of the smartest motorcycles ever built for returning riders. Instead of asking you to juggle every task at once, it quietly takes one of the biggest jobs off your shoulders. The model to buy is 2021 through the present, when Honda gave the NC its biggest update in years. It became lighter, more responsive, more comfortable, and most importantly, its famous dual-clutch transmission became even smoother at low speeds. If working a clutch after 2 decades sounds intimidating, this motorcycle changes everything. Leave it in automatic mode and simply focus on steering, braking, and reading the road ahead. If you prefer more involvement, paddle shifters on the handlebars let you change gears without ever touching a clutch lever. Comfort comes naturally too. The upright riding position gives you an excellent view through traffic, while the seat height of just over 31 inches feels approachable for most riders. Although the DCT model weighs about 493 pounds, its remarkably low center of gravity makes it feel much lighter when easing through parking lots or making tight U-turns. The dependable 745 cubic centimeter parallel twin delivers strong low-end torque instead of chasing high engine speeds, making acceleration smooth, effortless, and completely unintimidating. Standard ABS and Honda selectable torque control add even more reassurance when weather or road conditions suddenly change. One of the cleverest features sits where you'd normally expect the fuel tank. Instead, Honda gives you a generous storage compartment that's large enough for most full-face helmets or everyday essentials, making daily riding surprisingly convenient. Expect clean 2021 through present DCT models to sell between $7,500 and $9,000 across the United States. Before buying, make sure the dual-clutch transmission shifts smoothly in every mode. Confirm regular oil changes using the correct specification, and inspect the mirrors, handguards, and engine covers for signs of tip-over damage. The NC proves that modern technology doesn't make riding less enjoyable. It simply gives you more confidence to enjoy it. But now that you're beginning to trust yourself again, it's time for a motorcycle that reminds you why you fell in love with riding in the first place. Number 5. BMW G310 GS. Here's a motorcycle that catches plenty of returning riders by surprise. At first glance, the BMW G310 GS looks like a tall adventure machine that belongs on rocky trails. But spend a few minutes in the saddle and you'll realize it's one of the friendliest motorcycles in this entire countdown. Instead of making you feel like you're climbing aboard something intimidating, it gives you a commanding view of the road while remaining remarkably easy to control. The best models to target are built from 2021 through the present. BMW refined the throttle response, added smoother ride-by-wire technology, improved the slipper clutch, upgraded the lighting, and introduced adjustable hand controls. The result is a motorcycle that feels polished, predictable, and incredibly forgiving for riders shaking off years of rust. Yes, the seat sits at 32.9 inches, but don't let that number scare you. The narrow chassis makes it much easier to reach the ground than many adventure bikes, and BMW even offers a factory low-seat option for extra confidence. Better still, the bike weighs only about 386 pounds with fuel, so slow-speed maneuvers never feel like a wrestling match. The upright riding position also gives you an excellent view over traffic, helping you read the road farther ahead. Its 313 cubic centimeters single-cylinder engine delivers smooth, manageable power that's perfectly suited to back roads, commuting, and weekend escapes. Standard ABS and long travel suspension add even more reassurance when the pavement gets rough. Expect clean models from 2018 through the present to sell between $3,800 and $5,800. Before buying, confirm all factory recalls have been completed, then inspect the wheels, handguards, skid plate, and handlebars for signs of off-road tumbles. The G310 GS proves that confidence sometimes comes from seeing farther, sitting taller, and worrying less. But if gravel roads have never been part of your riding story, that versatility may not matter nearly as much as personality. Few countries have spent more than a century turning motorcycles into rolling pieces of character than Italy, and the next machine wears that heritage proudly. Number 4. Moto Guzzi V7 Stone. Sometimes the motorcycle that brings you back isn't the lightest one or the fastest one. It's the one that makes you stop in the garage, smile, and think, I remember why I love this. That's the feeling the Moto Guzzi V7 Stone delivers. It has the soul of a classic motorcycle. Yet underneath its timeless styling lives modern engineering that makes returning to riding feel far less intimidating than you might expect. The models to look for begin with 2021, when Moto Guzzi gave the V7 its biggest transformation in decades. A larger 853 cubic centimeter V-twin replaced the older engine, bringing stronger low-end pull, smoother operation, and a more relaxed personality. At the same time, the suspension and chassis received important refinements, creating a motorcycle that feels remarkably settled whether you're cruising through town or wandering down a quiet back road. The ergonomics are equally inviting. With a 30.7-inch seat height and a wet weight of about 492 pounds, the V7 Stone inspires confidence in an unexpected way. Thanks to its signature 𝐕 twin engine, much of that weight sits low in the chassis, making the motorcycle feel noticeably lighter during slow-speed maneuvers than the specifications suggest. Wide handlebars and a natural upright riding position help every control input feel smooth and unhurried. Its engine produces about 65 horsepower and 54 pound-feet of torque, delivering effortless acceleration without encouraging reckless riding. Standard ABS and traction control quietly stand by in the background, while the shaft drive eliminates chain cleaning and adjustment altogether. One less maintenance chore for owners who would rather spend their weekends riding than wrenching. Clean examples from 2021 through the present typically sell between $7,000 and $9,000 in the United States. Before buying, confirm the motorcycle has complete service records, paying close attention to valve inspections and final drive oil changes. Examine the shaft drive housing for leaks. Inspect the cylinder head covers and handlebar ends for signs of a parking lot tip over, and make sure every electronic aid operates exactly as it should. But our next motorcycle takes a completely different path. Instead of winning your heart with character, it earns your trust by making almost every mile feel effortless, no matter where the road decides to take you. Number 3. Triumph Scrambler Y400X. Returning to riding doesn't mean you have to return to yesterday's motorcycles. The Triumph Scrambler 400X is proof that modern engineering can actually make the experience feel simpler, less intimidating, and far more enjoyable than many bikes you remember from 20 years ago. It blends classic character with everyday confidence, creating a motorcycle that feels welcoming from the very first mile. Because the Scrambler debuted in 2024, every model shares the same excellent foundation. Triumph gave it the features that truly matter without burying the rider beneath complicated technology. You get ride-by-wire throttle, switchable traction control, dual-channel ABS, and a slipper and assist clutch that makes every gear change feel lighter and smoother. They're the kind of features you rarely notice until the moment they quietly save the day. The riding position is where this motorcycle really shines. Although the seat stands just under 33 inches high, the narrow chassis makes reaching the pavement easier than most riders expect. Its wet weight of about 395 pounds keeps slow speed, handling light, and reassuring, while the wide handlebars give you excellent control through parking lots, winding roads, and gravel pull-offs alike. The lively 398 cubic centimeter single-cylinder engine delivers smooth, usable power instead of intimidating speed. It has enough punch for confident highway riding while remaining forgiving enough to help rusty skills return naturally. Expect clean 2024 through present examples to sell between $4,800 and $5,700 in the United States. Before buying, confirm the break-in service was completed, inspect the wheels, suspension, and skid plate for signs of off-road abuse, and make sure the ABS and traction control systems operate without warning lights. But eventually, curiosity grows into ambition. Those short afternoon rides become full weekends, then road trips that stretch hundreds of miles from home. Which leaves one important question. What motorcycle keeps inspiring confidence after 300 miles instead of just 30? Our runner-up has been answering that question for decades. Number 2. Suzuki V-Strom 650. If there were a motorcycle designed specifically to say, "Welcome back," it would be the Suzuki V-Strom 650. It isn't the lightest bike in this countdown, and it definitely isn't the fastest. What it does better than almost anything else is make riding feel easy again. And after 20 years away, that's worth more than horsepower. The models to target are 2017 through the present. That's when Suzuki introduced traction control. easy start on the low RPM assist, and a smoother version of its legendary V-twin. Those upgrades may sound small, but they make a huge difference when you're rebuilding confidence. Pulling away from a stop becomes smoother, clutch work feels less stressful, and minor mistakes don't turn into major moments. Despite its adventure bike appearance, the V-Strom is far friendlier than it looks. The 32.9-inch seat height is helped by a narrow front section, while the motorcycle's roughly 470-pound wet weight is carried so well that it never feels awkward at low speeds. Wide handlebars, excellent wind protection, and an upright riding position keep your back comfortable and your eyes high above traffic. Its 645 cubic centimeters V-twin delivers power in a calm, predictable wave. Add ABS and traction control, and the bike becomes an incredible confidence builder in all kinds of conditions. Expect clean 2017 through 2024 models to sell between $5,800 and $8,500. Before buying, inspect the luggage mounts, suspension linkage, chain, and maintenance records carefully. The V-Strom 650 earns its reputation by making long days in the saddle feel almost effortless. It's dependable, forgiving, and capable of carrying a returning rider almost anywhere they want to go. So why isn't it number one? Because the best motorcycle for someone returning after 20 years isn't simply the one that travels the farthest. It's the one that rebuilds confidence on the very first ride, yet still feels rewarding years later. One manufacturer has built its reputation around exactly that balance. Number one, Honda CB650R. After being away from motorcycles for 20 years, it's easy to believe the safest decision is buying the smallest bike you can find. But confidence doesn't come from owning the least powerful motorcycle. It comes from owning one that forgives your mistakes today while still making you excited to ride years from now. That's exactly why the Honda CB650R earns the top spot. The models to target begin with 2019, with clean used examples typically selling between $7,000 and $9,200 across the United States. Honda completely reimagined the motorcycle with sharper styling, standard ABS, improved ergonomics, and a remarkably balanced chassis. That later models became even more refined, but every version shares the same welcoming personality. What makes this motorcycle so special is how naturally everything comes together. The 31.9-inch seat height provides an excellent view of the road, while the 445-pound wet weight feels surprisingly manageable once the wheels begin turning. The upright riding position, wide handlebars, and beautifully balanced chassis inspire confidence instead of demanding perfection. Then there's the engine, Honda's silky 649 cubic centimeter in line. Ford delivers about 94 horsepower, yet it never feels intimidating. Around town, it's smooth, predictable, and wonderfully civilized. Open up the throttle on a quiet back road though, and it rewards you with the unmistakable rush that only an inline-4 can deliver. It's the rare motorcycle that grows alongside its rider instead of being outgrown. Before buying, inspect the chain, sprockets, brakes, and tires, verify the ABS functions correctly, and be cautious of heavily modified examples without maintenance records. The CB650R isn't just the best motorcycle for returning riders. It's proof that coming back after 20 years doesn't mean settling for less. It means discovering just how far motorcycles have come. And once you experience that first confident ride again, you'll wonder why you ever stopped. So buying the right motorcycle is only one part of becoming a smarter rider. The next video takes you deeper into the motorcycle world with another guide that could save you thousands of dollars before your next purchase. Click it and keep the ride going. Subscribe to join the tribe, and if this guide helped you, we'd appreciate a like.